Greetings Internet, it's Monica, and today I am here to do a very exciting video. I am going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I'm so excited because I think this is the first time that I've ever done this tag actually in the middle of the year. I feel like I'm always doing it in like late summer, early fall, so I'm very proud today. And I'm also really excited because the point of this tag is to look back at your reading and to kind of just do a check-in on yourself to see how you're feeling about your reading so far in the year and to make plans for the rest of the year. But before I dive into that, I want to give a big shout out to this video's sponsor, which is Skillshare. You guys know I love Skillshare. I've been working with them for quite a while and I love using the service myself. If you're unfamiliar with Skillshare, it's an online learning community for lifelong learners where classes include a combination of video lessons and a class project. I've talked previously about some of the courses I've done with Skillshare, including Saba Tahir's writing course, Brandon Wolfel's photography course, but I recently purchased an iPad, and so I've been doing a lot of courses specifically about Procreate. I have especially been loving Brooke Glasser's course, that's sort of an introduction to using Procreate. That has been so helpful for me with just getting to know all the different tools, and I love it because with the Skillshare app I can have Procreate open on my iPad and then on the side also have Skillshare open, and I can follow along both at the same time, which is so helpful for me. So I will have a link in the description box below where the first 1,000 of you guys to click on it can get 2 months of Skillshare for free. If you guys have used Skillshare, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments what courses you've liked, because I'm always looking for suggestions of new ones that I can take. And without further ado, let's dive in to my mid-year book freakout. So the first question is, what is the best book you've read so far in 2020? And for me, that is very easy. It is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is a fantasy book that I've always been really intimidated by, and honestly when I first started reading it I didn't think I was smart enough for it. Like, it just kind of went over my head for the first 80 pages, but once I got through those first 80 pages it was smooth sailing. I could not put it down. I was totally gripped. So if you pick this up and you kind of feel that way, I just want to encourage you to keep reading because that was loud. So if you pick this up and you feel that way, I just want to encourage you to keep reading because the payoff is so worth it. I have not heard from a single person who has read this who hasn't loved it, so just putting that out there. I think it's absolutely brilliant. If you're unfamiliar with The Fifth Season, it takes place in a world where there have been sort of constant apocalypses, and it's a little bit of a journey book. You follow two women and one young girl as they all go on a different journey, and I kind of don't want to say anything more than that because I think half the fun of this book is not going into it knowing anything and really just discovering the world and the characters for yourself. So highly recommend it. Definitely my favorite of the year so far. Question 2 is, what is the best sequel you've read so far this year? And for me, that is actually going to be a reread that I did, which was Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. And I kind of flip-flopped between whether or not I wanted to include a reread on for this question, but for me, Lair of Dreams was always the diviner's book that I thought was the weakest, and at least when I first read it, because it's very different from the first novel. When I first read it, I wanted that first novel again. But now that I've reread it, and upon rereading it, it actually became, I think, my favorite in the whole series. I just think it explores so many interesting ideas. I love how it expands the world. I love the introduction of Chinatown and just like the fear of Asian immigrants in general. Like, for me personally, I think that was just really fascinating to read and I think really powerful. So yeah, I absolutely adored Lair of Dreams. It's spooky, but I think it just goes a lot deeper than the first Diviner's book did, and I love that about it. So I really love that one. If you haven't read the Diviner's series yet, I don't know what to tell you, but I highly recommend it. Question 3 is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to? And for me, it's Burn by Patrick Ness. This was one of my most anticipated books of the year, and I love Patrick Ness. I feel like he never lets me down. Well, I didn't love Release. That was like my least favorite of his work, I think, but other than that, he has not let me down. And I love how his books are sort of like literary YA, and they just explore such interesting and complex and philosophical ideas. So I'm really excited for Burn because it's a dragon book, and I don't really know a whole lot else outside of that, but I'm hoping to get to it soon. I just ordered it. I honestly completely forgot that it was coming out. I feel like there hasn't been a lot of buzz about it leading up to its release, which is weird. I feel like for Patrick Ness books there's usually more hype, but I know 2020 has been a weird year for everything, including book releases, so I guess that makes sense. But I'm really excited to get to this one. I honestly, outside of it being a dragon book, I don't really remember what it's about, and I kind of like that, and I'm excited to dive into it and just discover what Patrick Ness is going to be doing in this book, because I often feel like he surprises me and his books are just total like journeys. Question 4 is, what is your most anticipated release for the rest of 2020? And for me, that is definitely Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend. This book was supposed to be out this summer, but it was pushed back, as were a lot of books, because of COVID, so it's now coming out in the fall, and I want it so bad. I want to read it with all of my heart. I love the Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend. It's just, I think, my favorite middle grade series of all time. It's so whimsical and fun. If you're unfamiliar with Nevermore, it follows Morrigan Crow, who was born on the unluckiest day of the year, and so she is viewed as cursed and is blamed for every misfortune that happens in her town. And part of her curse is that she is doomed to die on her 11th birthday, but on her birthday she is whisked away by this mysterious man called Jupiter North, who takes her to the world of Nevermore, which has giant cats and an amazing secret society and just so much whimsical adventures. I just love it. Question 5 is, what was your biggest disappointment? For me, I'm gonna go with Romancing the Duke by Tessa Dare, because here's the thing, I am not, I think, the audience for this book, and I fully recognize that. But I think, like, I don't know, everyone always hypes it up, and I really wanted to love it. But yeah, I do want to recognize that I just don't think I am a, like, traditional romance reader. I love romance, don't get me wrong, but I think I prefer a really slow burn, more like character focused romance versus the sort of more fast-paced style of romance. You know? I don't know if that makes sense, but it's not for me. So it was probably my biggest disappointment, because I just had heard so much good stuff about this author, and I feel like people always recommend her books to me because they are very focused on like consent, and I do really like that part of the romance novel, but still just like the style of it, not my thing, which is fine. So I feel a little bad putting it in this spot, because you know, it's not the book's fault that I'm just like not the reader for it, but it is also probably my biggest disappointment of the year. Next is biggest surprise. For me, I have 2 books for this. The first one is Don't Read the Comments by Eric Smith, and this is one that like I knew I was gonna like, because it sort of explores like the world of being an online creator and just like online friendships and stuff, so I knew I was gonna like it, but I didn't realize how much I would enjoy it and how much I would continue to think about it afterwards. And I especially feel that way because of how it depicts or fictionalizes Gamergate almost. Like a big part of this is, yes, about, you know, these 2 characters' online friendship, but it's also about just how toxic and frightening the internet can be, especially for women. It's not like a super intense novel by any means, like it's pretty light, but I enjoy that it explores that element at least a bit, and I just loved the characters, and again, I think it does such a good job of depicting what it's like to be an online creator. Obviously I'm not a gamer, so I can't speak to that specifically, but I feel like anyone who creates any sort of content online, no matter your audience size, could probably relate a little bit to at least parts of this novel. I guess I should say what this is about. This follows Divya Sharma, who is this big online streamer, and she ends up getting attacked basically by these group of like angry men who are just mad that this girl is a popular streamer, and it's about her friendship with this boy. And then the other one for me is Felix Ever After by Case and Calendar. This is another one that, again, I knew I was gonna like it, but I didn't realize how much I was going to love it. This story follows Felix, who is a trans black boy living in New York City. At the beginning of the novel, he is dead named, and someone basically finds his old photos and puts them up in this gallery, and it's really about him sort of, figuring out sort of his identity and his relationships. I didn't realize how much I would just love it. And I think a big part of that comes down to Kaysen's writing and how beautiful the writing in the novel is, and how well the novel captures the voice of young people, which is very hard to do. I feel like sometimes I read YA novels and I'm like, no one talks like this, no one acts like this, and this one, it just feels very true to life. And also the way that New York City is portrayed in this book, it made me so homesick for New York, because I haven't been there in months and I miss it so much. And I feel like the depiction of New York in this novel is just made me really nostalgic. I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was such a beautiful story, and I just loved all the relationships in the story. And honestly, if there was a sequel, I would totally read it. And I read this one via audiobook too, and I loved the audiobook, but I think I want to buy it physically because I fully expect to want to reread the novel in the future. It's great. Question 7 is, who is your new favorite author? For me, that is definitely N.K. Jemisin. For me, this book was truly immaculate in how it did characters, pacing, and plot development. And so I know that I want to read everything N.K. Jemisin has ever written because it was so good. These birds are very aggressive right now. Sorry about that. I feel like I'm always on the hunt for a book that is going to be able to craft story in a way that is completely compelling, gripping, and that does reveals in a way that is so earned but still completely shocking. And N.K. Jemisin accomplished that with this book, so now I want to read everything she has ever written. The next question is, name a book that made you cry. For this one, I have to give a shout out to Tracy Cheese, We Are Not Free. If you watched my wrap up, my recent reads video, you would know that I cried just trying to review the novel. So yeah, I think I cried every single chapter of this book because it just broke my heart. This novel follows a group of Japanese American teens living in San Francisco during World War II who lived through the forced incarceration of Japanese people in the United States. And for me, it broke my heart because you just feel so much this sense of loss that experience caused. Sorry in advance, it's not out yet, but it comes out this September. This is another one that I think got pushed out, and I highly recommend picking it up when it does come out because it is amazing. The next question is, name a book that made you happy, and for me, I'm gonna go with The Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. This is a series that I started this year and absolutely fell in love with. It made me happy because it's basically like an anime in book form, and I love anime and I love books, so this was perfect. And yeah, I love this book because it's such a good, every chapter felt like a new quest, a new episode in this epic anime series, and it just brought me so much joy. I still have to read the last one, so my goal is I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I want to read the last one soon. But yeah, this book definitely made me very happy. Next question is, what is the most beautiful book you've bought this year? And for me, it's definitely this one, The Magical Language of Others by E.J. Koh. This is a memoir that I'm hoping to read for Koreadathon. If you are not familiar with Koreadathon, I'll link my video down below so you can familiarize yourself because it's happening this July and I'm so excited. But this is a memoir about E.J. Koh's life. Her parents moved back to Korea and left her in the United States for a decade, and it's her translating these letters that her mother wrote her in Korean. I'm just really excited to read this one because it sounds beautiful, but the cover is just absolutely stunning. The illustration and the typography, just everything about it is so beautiful to me. So that was definitely one of the reasons why I wanted to own this one physically, because it's stunning. And then the final question is, what books do you still need to read in 2020? And this is a very long list. but I'm going to truncate it to the top few. So first of all, I want to do a couple of rereads. So I want to reread the Nevermore series before the third one comes out, because I definitely wish that I had reread the first one before reading the second one. So I want to reread these two, the first two books, before getting the third one, and I think that'll be really fun. So hoping to do that soon. I definitely need to read the rest of the Broken Earth trilogy because I loved this one so much, and I just keep thinking about like the last page of this book, and I'm like, I need to know what happens. So I'm really excited for that. I also need to pick up The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This is definitely one of my most anticipated books of this entire year, and I'm so excited that I actually have a copy. So I need to read this before it comes out so I can talk about it and review it for you guys. Another book that I really want to read this year is The King of the Dragonflies, which is another novel by Kacen Callender, and this one is a middle grade novel. I've heard it's absolutely beautiful. I don't really know anything about it outside of that it's beautiful and it's by Kacen Callender, but I loved Felix so much that I now want to read everything by Kacen Callender. And then I have two additional books that I really want to read this year. They are A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos, which is a French fantasy novel, and my friend Reagan really loves it and tells me to read it constantly, so I need to read it this year. It's a goal. And then Circe by Madeline Miller, which is a Greek myth retelling that is also constantly recommended. I feel like people just love Circe, and I feel like I have a Greek retelling hole in my heart because Lore Olympus season 1 just wrapped up, so I'm like, I need some Greek mythology in my life. Obviously this is very different from Lore Olympus, but still want to read it. If anyone has recommendations though of books similar that give like a similar vibe to Lore Olympus, please by all means let me know in the comments. But yeah, that was the book Freakout tag. I'd love to hear from you guys if you have any thoughts about the books that I've mentioned in this video, or if there are, what are the books that you're still hoping to get to this year. And thanks guys so much for watching. Thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Bye!